This episode may contain content that is not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised, especially for those under the age of 13. Welcome to Into the Night. I'm Nari, your guide on today's excursion down a twisted path. Be careful not to get lost. Be it dark or light, it's easy to lose your way. Are you ready? Then let's begin. It depends how you frame it. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the art studio located on the second floor of a rambling farmhouse. Long ago, urban sprawl crept around the home, until now it was in the center of a modern residential area. All other farmhouses were demolished or destroyed by fire or neglect over the years, and now this house remained as the last vestige of years past. It stood like a glimpse back into the time when most people made their livings by farming. Cookie-cutter suburban homes now surrounded the place, located at 1575 Crittenden Avenue. Scarlett McDowell stopped, hand in mid-air, to admire the effect of the light coming through the window. The branches on the tree outside bobbed and swayed in the breeze and combined with the sunlight to produce a mosaic of dancing shadows on the canvas. Scarlett always delighted in beautiful moments like this one. In a strange way, ever since she was a child, moments like this reminded her that anything was possible. I guess that's why I've always been a dreamer. Scarlett smiled and went back to her oil painting. She added a touch more blue and then a splash of red. This one's coming together nicely. Within a half an hour, she was satisfied with her work. She carefully inscribed 1742 on the corner under her signature. Now you need to dry, and you'll be ready to frame. In her younger years, she'd painted mainly landscapes, capturing the nuances of passing clouds or dandelion seeds blowing in the breeze helped her hone her artistic skills. Creating images that evoked feelings in people became her passion. My mother called it a gift. She cleaned her paintbrush and thought about all the generations of her family who made this house their home. Great-grandmother told me stories by the hour. In her youth, she was a beauty, and she had many adventures with her sisters and 3 boy cousins. Nothing bad, just innocent child's play by country kids. They didn't have the technology that cripples imaginations in today's generation, so they had to create their fun. Scarlett washed and dried her hands, then looked back out the window. She saw past the tree waving in the wind and viewed row after row of suburban homes in her neighborhood. Shaking her head, she let out a sigh. My grandparents would be heartbroken to see what's happened to the farm. Piece by piece, it's sold to developers. I wish I could make them all go away and have peace and quiet around here again like it used to be. She watched as a moving van pulled into the driveway of a nearby house. I bet the real estate agent never said a word about the crime around here. There isn't a house in this neighborhood that hasn't had something horrific happen in the past few years. Crime stories made the local news regularly, and Crittenden Avenue and surrounding streets now had a dangerous reputation. Murders, suicides, hostage situations, and other unseemly acts plagued what used to be a family-friendly neighborhood. You just never know what's going to happen around here next. Scarlett's delicate fingers lightly touched her throat as she watched a family unload belongings from the moving van. 1578 Crittenden was the scene of a gruesome murder 2 months earlier. It's a shame. They look like nice people. They don't have a clue what this neighborhood is like. She sighed and looked around the studio. It's too early to stop painting now. I feel like starting something new. Her previous project sat drying, but another easel held a blank canvas, inviting Scarlett to pick up her brushes again. While the landscapes were once her passion, she went through a phase of painting portraits. She dabbled in those until she grew tired of them. Never a social person, being surrounded by the faces staring at her from canvases unsettled Scarlett. Even in school, she dreaded giving presentations in front of the class because she wasn't comfortable being the center of attention. In fact, for a while, Scarlett lost interest in painting altogether when the portrait phase came to a close. To occupy herself during that time, she discovered podcasts, especially those dealing with true crime. Initially, she wasn't sure what gave her this new fascination, but strangely, the storylines gave her inspiration at a time when she'd lost her artistic muse. She listened to the shows often while she painted. One podcast host in particular was her favorite. Bailey, irreverent and comical while telling listeners about gruesome crimes, created the mood Scarlett thrived in while painting these days. On her phone, she pulled up the most recent episode of her favorite podcast and began listening. She set to work and chose the colors to use, then walked to the easel. She situated it so she could face the window and watch her new neighbors risk their lives, moving into an increasingly dangerous area. Dabbing her brush on the palette, she put the first strokes onto the canvas. A rich brown color provided the perfect background for what she had in mind. A smile crept across her face as the painting grew more vibrant with every brushstroke. A shocking addition of crimson highlighted the scene she painted. Engrossed in her work, she barely noticed the podcast in the background had ended, and the next episode began. Lost in her thoughts, the creative energy flowed onto the canvas. Finally, she exhaled a triumphant sigh as she finished the painting. She signed in the right-hand corner and carefully added 1578. My work for today is almost finished. I think I'll take a break, eat something, and come back up here to frame both paintings. Standing back and admiring the day's accomplishments, she smiled. You turned out so nicely. After a few hours, as the sun hung low in the sky, Scarlett returned to the art studio and framed the paintings. Once I hang you in my gallery, you will be ready to come to life. Scarlett matted and framed the paintings, then carefully carried the completed projects to the next room, which she used as a gallery. Right here you go, and you will go over here. The scenes she painted were so lifelike, they would have shocked an outsider. To Scarlett, they were masterpieces that helped her achieve her goal. All I've ever wanted was for this house to be alone once more without neighbors constantly encroaching. 1472 and 1578 simply represented her most recent triumphs. One portrayed a vicious and bloody murder-suicide, and the other a heinous crime by the husband against his wife in 1578. Darkness fell, and she heard screams into the night coming from 1578 and 1742. She knew what she had to do. It was the same thing she'd done when her paintings came true in the homes located at 1622, 1408, and 1875, and all the other paintings that hung on her wall as mementos of her handiwork. She picked up her phone. 911, what's your emergency?
Come quick. I've heard screams coming from 2 homes in my neighborhood. I'm afraid someone's been murdered.
What's the address, ma'am?
1578 Crittenton Avenue and 1742, also on Crittenton.
We will send emergency vehicles now. Thank you for calling. Stay inside and do not leave your house. Scarlett hung up the phone and waited eagerly for the wails of sirens. Maybe, just maybe, I'll get rid of enough people around here that no one will ever bother us again. She turned and looked at the portrait of her great-grandmother. I'm doing this for you. A quiet smile formed on the lips of the wrinkled old woman in the painting. Thank you for joining me for Into the Night, an anthology series written by Caroline Giammanco, narration by Nari, theme music by Nico Rodriguez. All original music, sound design, and editing provided by Flyboy Entertainment. You can find our links in the show notes. Please remember to like and subscribe, and if you enjoy what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review to help other excursionists to join us. You can find us on your favorite podcast directory. See you next time. And remember, whether in the shadows or in the daylight, all twisted paths take you into the night. Into the Night is a Creative Typo Entertainment production.